I wasn't trying to buy love. That's the story people reach for when they hear I paid for the trip. But at the time, it felt simpler than that. We were separated, not hostile. Still talking. Still pretending the word family hadn't already cracked down the middle. She said the kids needed it. A change of air. One last normal memory before everything got complicated. I wired the money the same afternoon. I remember sitting at my desk, the confirmation email glowing on my screen, feeling strangely calm. Like I'd done the adult thing. Like this was what steady men did, quietly cover the costs and stay out of the way. The first few days, the updates were harmless. Beach photos, a blurry sunset, the kids smiling with that loose vacation softness I hadn't seen in months. She captioned them with neutral language. So grateful. Much needed. No names. By day 4, the language shifted. It was subtle. Almost impressive in how cleanly it erased me. We're having the best time. They love it here. Oh, so glad we came. I didn't respond much. I didn't want to hover. I didn't want to look insecure. I told myself this was what trust looked like now, distance without resentment. The first photo with him in it was accidental, or meant to look that way. A reflection in a restaurant window, a shoulder at the edge of the frame, someone holding the youngest hand that wasn't me. She didn't introduce him, didn't explain, just kept sending photos like nothing had changed. I knew who he was, of course. The man she'd told me not to worry about. The one who just understood the kids. The one who had never been in the room when bills were due or decisions were hard. I felt something tighten, but it wasn't rage. It was recognition. Like watching furniture being moved out of a house you technically no longer lived in. The moment it became undeniable wasn't dramatic. It never is. It was a short video. The kids running toward the water, laughter, wind, and then my daughter's voice, clear and unfiltered, calling out, "Dad, wait!" The camera tilted slightly. He turned. I watched it twice. Then once more slower, as if the truth might soften if I studied it long enough. She never apologized for that video. Later, when I didn't react, she followed up with, "They've grown really attached to him. I hope you understand." That was the first time I realized my role had already been reassigned. Not as a husband, that had ended earlier, but as something quieter and more humiliating, the funding source who didn't get to shape the story. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was angry, but because I kept circling the same question. At what point does support turn into consent? I thought about calling her. I imagined raising my voice, demanding explanations, forcing a confrontation that would feel like action. But I knew how that would end. I'd be framed as controlling, jealous, the man who thought money entitled him to presence. So I didn't call. Instead, I pulled up the agreements, old emails, bank records. The standing transfers I'd never revisited because it felt petty to renegotiate kindness. I wasn't obligated to fund vacations. That part was clear. What I was obligated to do, what I wanted to do, was provide stability, not spectacle. 2 days later, while they were still away, I made the change. I didn't announce it. I didn't threaten. I adjusted the account so discretionary transfers stopped at the end of the month. Tuition stayed. Healthcare stayed. Essentials remained untouched. The boundary was precise. The authority entered the story a week later, without emotion and without my involvement. She tried to extend the stay. The payment failed. The resort contacted her directly. I wasn't on the call. I didn't hear her voice. I only know because she texted me afterward. Did something change with the account? I waited an hour before replying. Not as a tactic, just because I needed the silence to make sure I wasn't acting from spite. Yes, I wrote. I'm covering necessities. I'm no longer funding discretionary travel. There was a pause then. This feels punitive. I stared at that word for a long time. Punishment implies wrongdoing, I replied. This is a boundary. She sent 3 messages after that. Explanations. Reframes, a careful suggestion that I was hurting the kids. I didn't respond to those. When they came back, the energy had shifted. Not explosive. Just strained. Requests came with a new hesitancy. Gratitude appeared where it hadn't existed before, awkward and late. He didn't disappear from their lives. I never expected him to. But the assumption that I would silently bankroll a role I no longer occupied, that ended. Weeks later, during a school meeting, a form was passed around. The emergency contacts. Author administrator paused and asked for clarification. Who should we list as primary financial contact? She asked, pen hovering. The room went quiet. She looked at me, not him. That was the moment control shifted, not loudly, not triumphantly, but unmistakably. Authority doesn't raise its voice. It just asks the right question in the right room. After that, things settled into something less dramatic and more honest. The kids still loved him. They still loved me. Love, I learned, isn't a zero-sum resource source, but respect often is. I didn't win anything. There was no apology tour, no confession of wrongdoing, just a rebalancing. I stopped being useful on demand, and in doing so, I stopped being invisible. Sometimes I still think about that video, the way my daughter's voice carried so easily across the sand. I don't blame her. Children name the people who show up, not the ones who pay quietly from afar. What I regret isn't cutting off the money. It's how long I believed love required me to stay silent while being replaced. Now when I help, it's deliberate. When I give, it's mutual. And when I'm absent, it's because I chose to be, not because I was edited out of the frame.